Hello, welcome to Oracle DBA 02pro.com. This is Hassan Mir. In this tutorial, I'll talk about tablespaces. So what is a tablespace? Tablespace is simply a collection of data files. Okay. So for example, this tablespace is a group of 3 data files. Just remember that one data file can only belong to one tablespace. Okay. So there's one-to-many relationship between data files and tablespaces. So one data file can only belong to one tablespace. However, one tablespace can contain one or more data files. Okay, that was about the physical structure that tablespace has data files. Okay, on the logical side, tablespace contains segments. Okay, so this tablespace contains multiple segments, like 8 segments here. A segment can represent a table or like logical objects like table, indexes, etc. Alright. When you install Oracle, this is true for 10G and onwards, minimum 2 tablespaces are required: system and sysaux tablespace. However, when you do a default installation, during the installation, if you ask the system or ask the installer to create a default database for you, it creates 6 tablespaces. Let's talk about a special kind of tablespace called big file tablespace. Okay, so in 11G onwards, you will be able to create a big file tablespace. What's a big file tablespace? Okay, this is a special kind of tablespace. What's so special about it? The maximum size could go up to 128 terabyte. Okay, it's about 131,000 gigabytes. Okay, and it provides transparent tablespace management to DBAs. So what does that mean? So what you can do is, once you group all the files into big file tablespace, you don't have to worry about the size and structure of underlying data files. So you can treat the whole tablespace as one unit. Okay, just to let you know, in coming tutorials we will be installing Oracle and we will be doing lots of hands-on. So right now, just understand the concept part of things. So just try to grasp what tablespace is, what significance of big file tablespace, what significance of system tablespace, etc., etc. Once we install Oracle, then once we do the hands-on, you will refresh. You will be able to recall all these concepts. Okay, so that's okay if you can't understand completely what big file is. It's enough if you can understand the concept. Okay, so big file is a special tablespace that lets you manage all the files within the tablespace as one unit. There is another special tablespace that a DBA can create called temporary tablespace. The purpose of temporary tablespace is to contain temporary segments for operations like join, union, and order by. If you haven't taken SQL tutorials yet, you can do that at sql02pro.com. When you do sort operations in SQL, Oracle needs some hard disk space to do some temporary calculations. System memory is not enough, and if temporary tablespace is not created in the database, then all the sort operations will be happening in system tablespace. System tablespace is mandatory. Every database installation has a system tablespace. It contains other important information as well, which we'll talk about in coming slides. And all the sorting will take place in system tablespace. That can cause contention. So what usually DBAs do, they create separate tablespaces just for the purpose of temporary sort operations, and they can assign these temporary tablespaces to users, so that when they perform any join operations, sorting would take place in the temporary tablespace rather than system. Okay, but again, it's optional to create a dedicated temporary tablespace. By default, system tablespace is used as temporary tablespace. one thing you should know about temporary table space, they are permanent in nature or, as far as the table space is concerned, but segments within this table space are temporary in nature. They're created once the operation is about to be performed, and they're removed once the operation has been performed. Okay, so you know that table spaces contain segments in it, and in regular table space, a segment will be representing a table or an index, but in temporary table space, segment would be representing some sort of operation, and these segments are temporarily created. But temporary table space are permanent in nature. Segments within these are temporary in nature. DBA should create a separate temporary table space if they want to avoid contention in system table space. That would reduce I/O contention between permanent and temporary objects. Okay, because if you don't create a temporary table space, sorting would be taking place in system table space, and there are permanent objects in system, so the I/O contention would be happening. Okay, so let's talk about system table space. System table space, first of all, is mandatory. It has to be online all the time. It's mandatory in the system, and it contains something very important: data dictionary. What is data dictionary? It's a metadata. Metadata is data about data. Okay, so what does that mean? For example, when you create a table definition is stored somewhere. Okay, for example, who created this table, when the table was created, what columns are there in the table, and if you know PL/SQL programming, when you create a procedure, then the procedure name, who created procedure, what code would be executed if this procedure is executed. So all that information resides in metadata or data about data. Okay, so the data dictionary is always sits on system table space. Okay, just remember that it's a special table space that is already created for you when you install when you create a database. Space management. Let's talk about space management. So table spaces can be either dictionary managed or locally managed. Okay, we're talking about regular table spaces that contains data for users. So DBA can create table spaces. Most famous table space, like usually it's called user table space, like created so that users can create their objects in user table space. Okay, it can be named anything. So when a table space is created, of course, data files are also created along with the table space. Then when you create table space, then you have to decide, is it dictionary managed table space or locally managed table space. Okay, let's talk about dictionary managed table space. For dictionary managed table space, the space management or extent management information is recorded in the system. For example, this is our dictionary managed table space, and what extents are available, what extents have been used, where would the new information will be written, all that is stored in the system table space about this dictionary managed user table space. So let's call this table space a user table space. Okay, so if you perform any DML, data manipulation operation, okay, DML stands for data manipulation language. If you perform any DML operation, so again, if you have it's a good idea, if you want to become a DBA, you should have a good knowledge of SQL, structured query language. So DML operations are, if you want to update a table, delete something from the table, or insert new records in the table, they're all DML operations. So if any DML operation is being performed on any object sitting in this user table space, which is dictionary managed table space, then the system will have to touch both table spaces, because system table spaces will be touched to read the extent management information, like where should the new records be created, etc., etc., and then eventually the original table space will be touched so that the operation can take place. Okay, so this can result in potential bottleneck. On the other hand, we have locally managed table spaces. In locally managed table spaces, all the extent management information resides within the table space as a bitmap at the end of actually bitmap sitting within the data files. So extended management information is residing within the table space to be accurate within the data files. But since data files are within the table space, so we can say it's sitting in the table space. Only the quota information, like what is the quota for each table space, is sitting on the system. So if you perform any DML operation on any objects in locally managed table space, then the system will only have to touch one table space. Okay, so system table space doesn't have to be touched, so that will be a faster performance. So it's all common sense things so far. Okay, so our approach is a step-by-step approach towards learning Oracle database administration, and I'll see you in next tutorial.